Hey guys, welcome to Gaming Back today, bringing another video for our weapon conversion series. Now that we've kicked off Season 4, we're going to be covering the brand new weapons. And first we're going to start off with the Fennec and converting it into the Kriss Vector CRB Gen 2 enhanced variant of the weapon. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to show you how to build this. We'll jump and take a look at the recoil patterns and then check out and see how it handles in a live gameplay here against bots. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So back out and we see here is the final design of the Kriss Vector CRB Gen 2 enhanced variant of the Kriss Vector, or the Fennec as it's known in game. So again, this is first off unlocked. I'll go ahead and I'll back out to my multiplayer. If we look at the battle pass here and we go ahead and back up down to tier 15, this is unlocked here in Season 4 for free at tier 15. And again, you can see if we just go ahead and zoom in on the weapon here at tier 15, we have the base Kriss Vector Gen 2 for the most part. There's some features that are shared between the Gen 1 and the Gen 2, but mostly this is the Gen 2. You'll notice the differences versus in Modern Warfare 2. This was essentially in that game a Gen 1 prototype variant of the weapon, also known as the K10, is very similar to what it was in that game of Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. But again, tier 15 for the Battle Pass for Season 4. Let's go ahead now and we'll jump out and go back to my custom class where we have this built. And we'll build this thing up from scratch. So we'll go to our Kriss Vector CRB. Again, this is the Gen 2 enhanced version, which I'll explain what that is here in a second. So let's go ahead and strip this down to base. Now we have the base Gen 2 Kriss Vector variant right here. So first off, to start, we're going to go with the barrel attachment. Now this is the key attachment for this weapon. What we're going to build here, again, is the CRB, the carbine variant. This is essentially a civilian variant, which is only select fire to single fire. It doesn't go full auto, but again, in game it does, obviously, so we're going to be using it as such. But for aesthetic purposes or cosmetic changes, this is going to mostly resemble the CRB, which is a carbine variant of the weapon, which comes in real life with an affixed barrel attachment here. So in game, we're going to go with the ZLR 18-inch deadfall. So what this here is listed is in-game as an integral suppressor, which isn't really the case in real life, but we'll go over that here in the video later. The pros here for this attachment is going to be the damage at range, the recoil control, bullet velocity, and the sound suppression. The cons here, ADS speed and movement speed for the weapon. So we'll go ahead and select this. Again, it's listed as an integral suppressor, so we'll go ahead and select that. We're going to skip out on the laser for this build. Again, that's really personal preference. This is how the lasers look. It's going to be fixed with almost like a candid rail mount there on the top instead of an actual top-mounted laser like we see with the M4s or some of the other assault rifles, which I would really prefer on this weapon. Aesthetically, I think that would be much more pleasing instead of having these cannon-mounted red dot sights, or excuse me, the lasers. But again, unfortunately, that's not the case with this weapon here in the game. But for the optic, let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and just select, again, personal preference. We're going to go with the EOTech holographic or the Corp Combat holographic sight here in game. Precision sight picture, the cons here are going to be the ADS speed for the weapon, which will mitigate elsewhere later on. So go ahead and select the holographic sight. Now for the stock, now we're going to be building the CRB Gen 2 enhanced variant of the weapon. So for that, we want the Forged Tac CQS stock. So essentially what this is, it puts an M4 buffer tube on the back of this weapon to allow for an adjustable stock. So here you can see we have essentially almost like a Magpul adjustable stock, one of the variants of a Magpul stock, which we see on some of the weapons in the game. So this is going to assist with the aim down sight speed, and the cons here being the aiming stability. But again, this is going to give us that ADS speed, which we're taking cons for on other attachments, so that's going to help us out. We'll go ahead and select that. We're going to skip out on the perk, and for the grip, this is going to be personal preference, but I'm going to go with the stipple pistol grip here. This is just going to assist even more with the ADS speed and the sprint to fire speed, the cons here being the aiming stability for this particular attachment. But we go ahead and select that. Now for the ammunition, we're actually going to leave it with the base 25 round magazine that comes with the weapon. However, your other options here, I would highly recommend when you guys unlock it, the 40 round drum mag. Again, this is just going to be the standard 45 APC rounds that this weapon comes with. However, it's going to bump up your ammo count from the 25 to 40. And with this high rate of fire of this weapon, I almost feel you really need it. But you'll see it in the gameplay how fast you chew through ammo. The rate of fire on this weapon is very, very fast in game. A little bit over 1,100 rounds per minute. So we'll go ahead and keep the base attachment. And again, just to note, you have the 45 hollow point 12 round magazine, same like we saw with the LWCR in game here, or what a lot of you guys know it very closely resembling the UMP 45. But again, we're going to stay with the standard 25 round magazine for the 45 APC. Now for the underbarrel attachment, I'm going to go personal preference again, but given that this is mainly built for close quarters combat, this weapon overall with this particular attachments that we have, we're going to want the Merc foregrip. So this is going to help us with that recoil control, the hip fire accuracy as well. The only cons here being the aim walking movement speed and the aim down sight speed. But again, since this is CQC engagement build of the weapon, we're going to want that recoil control as well as it's really going to assist us with that hip fire when we're really up close and personal, especially with the high rate of fire over 1,100 rounds per minute with this weapon. So we'll go ahead and select the Merc foregrip. So this is our final design of the Kriss Vector CRB, or the Carbine Gen 2 enhanced version. So again, just some things to note here. In real life, this, if I go ahead and back out, the 18-inch ZLR 18-inch deadfall is, again, this is a custom portion. It's listed here as an integral suppressor, which really isn't the case. It's actually just an affixed attachment that goes on the standard 5.5-inch barrel. Again, this is extended with 18.6 inches in real life and 470 millimeters for the Canadian market. So again, there's the 16-inch or the 410 millimeter in the US or the United States, and then Canada, for that market, it's going to go with the 18.6. Now, again, that's just to get around state laws regarding the rifle for SBRs. But again, this is not really an integral suppressor. It's just affixed to the rifle, but I can see where they're going with that with an integral suppressor since it is fixed in real life. So this 18-inch would give us the Canadian version of the Vector CRB Gen 2 Enhanced. Now, some other things to note, again, being the enhanced version of the weapon, the enhanced version of the Gen 2 CRB, as well as some of the other variants like the SBR, come along with a collapsible M4 style stock adapter. So that's what we have here on this. If I go ahead and deselect that, you'll see the differences versus the standard side folding stock, and then we'll go ahead and put the ForceTac CQS, giving us that Magpul type stock here. So you can see that we have the replacement for the M4 style stock adapters versus the standard folding stock that comes with the weapon. So that's going to be what gives us the enhanced variation of this weapon. Now, some things to note, we have the safety fire here is right above the pistol grip on the left and right side, completely ambidextrous. So you can see there, right above the pistol grip, right below, slightly in front of the rear flip-up sights, we have the select fire, the safety option there. The select fire is going to be directly below the holographic sight there. You can see, again, completely ambidextrous. Then we have the bolt release, which is right above the magazine on the top portion of the mag well there, as well as the charge it handle on the left-hand side and not on the right-hand side. So that's the only part that is not ambidextrous on this weapon. Again, it comes with a top-mounted Picatinny rail, full length for the weapon. And again, we have that standard 25-round magazine for the weapon. So if I go ahead and back out of this really quick, I'll show you what the camouflage looks like on this. So you can see here, it's going to cover essentially the entire rifle minus whatever you put on there for the optic and the underbarrel attachment for this particular build, at least. Some other attachments may vary, but again, this is I only have these first few attachments unlocked for the camouflage at least, and this is what these look like. When we build different variations of the weapon going forward for our conversion series, we'll take a look at what the other camos look like on the weapon. But we'll go ahead and back out there. Again, this is our final variation of the Kriss Vector Gen 2 CRB Enhanced. You can see they're very aesthetically pleasing weapon. Again, very high rate of fire, over 1,100 rounds per minute. So let's go ahead and now we'll jump into the gameplay for this weapon. And what you see here, I was just going to show off, first off, the recoil patterns for this rifle. As you can see, it goes straight up, straight vertical recoil, and slightly deviates over to the left near the end of your 25 round clip. So you can see straight up, slightly to the left. So you just need to be able to counter that slightly to the right. Again, the Merc foregrip is definitely going to help with that. Something like a commando foregrip would also help with that side recoil, but again, it doesn't really deviate too far to the left to where you need a commando. I think the Merc foregrip is most suitable for this weapon. And you can see you're able to keep shots on target very easily and control that recoil pretty easily. You just need to be conscious of that left recoil that you're going to get about halfway through your mag. And again, with 40-round magazines, it'd be a little bit different. You'll be able to get center mass a little bit easier with a 40-round magazine once you go through more of the bullets. But jumping into the gameplay for this weapon, I think this weapon handles really, really well. Again, the rate of fire for this is over 1,100 rounds per minute in game. It is a very, very high rate of fire. I believe the highest rate of fire weapon that we have here in Modern Warfare 2019 thus far. And you're going to chew through, you'll see me in the gameplay chewing through that 25-round magazine very, very quickly. So you need to be very conscious of that. And that's why I really recommend a 40-round magazine. If you're going to be dealing with multiple opponents here in game, you'll see basically I'm able to take out one, sometimes two, and then if we're in really, really close quarters combat, you could probably take out three. But you're really going to be reloading after every kill with this weapon with the base 25-round magazine, which is why One thing you could do is swap out, go for the standard stock, which would also give you the CRB variation of the weapon, just wouldn't be an enhanced variation. And you could have that foldable stock option, which is the base stock for the weapon, and still maintain a larger magazine count with that 40 round magazine on the weapon. But again, this weapon handles really, really well. I think this is definitely going to be a short range weapon, especially with this build that we have here. It's going to be mainly for CQC. The damage drop off is pretty heavy after you get out beyond a certain range. It's definitely built with a high rate of fire. It's built for short range engagements, but again, your high rate of fire, the time to kill is going to be very, very quick if you're within those shorter CQC type engagements. Now, there are some attachments on this which will allow you to engage at further out versus opponents, but we'll be building those in other videos. So right now, I'll go over some of the real-life weapon stats for this weapon. Again, it's developed by Kriss, which essentially used to be TDI, or Transformational Defense Industries. So Kriss Vector is what it is, or Kriss is the name of the company now. And again, they produce the Kriss Vector. And again, this was initially in 2007, TDI, as they were formerly known as, announced their development for this new submachine gun. The second generation prototype, which I believe is what we see some sort of a variation of that in Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. It's essentially a Gen 1 Kriss Vector, but it does have some similarities to the K10, which was canceled and not seen anytime after the 2013 shoot show, I believe. But again, this is a submachine gun. There's a civilian carbine variant, which we have built here with the CRB. Again, in real life, that would not be full auto, but cosmetically, that's kind of what we built here, essentially. It was first designed in 2006, and again, there's been different iterations of the weapon since. We had the Gen 1, the K10, and now the Gen 2, and some of the other civilian variants that we've built here. Manufactured in Kriss, USA, formerly TDI, produced from 2009 through present, which is why we saw a variation of this in Modern Warfare 2. The mass for this weapon for the CRB, which we've built here, is 7 pounds or 3.2 kilograms. The length overall for this is going to be 34.8 inches or 880 millimeters for the CRB, or the carbine variant here that we have built in game. The barrel length is going to be a standard 5.5 inches, but again, with that CRB variant, you have two different options: the 16-inch with the 410 millimeter, or the Canadian version, which we've built here with this particular attachment, which is listed as an integral suppressor, which is an 18-inch. So in real life, that'd be an 18.6-inch or a 470 millimeter variation for the barrel length. That would just be affixed to the standard 5.5-inch standard barrel on the weapon. Now the cartridge, this is actually pretty unique for this weapon. It's actually able to swap out and accommodate 9mm Parabellum, the 45 ACP, which we see here, the 40 S&W Smith & Wesson, the 9x21mm, and also 10 auto, as well as 357 SIG and 22 LR. So there's a lot of different variations of cartridges that this weapon can take. The action is going to be a delayed blowback closed bolt system. The rate of fire in real life, again, is going to be, for the prototype variant, was 1,500 rounds per minute, and then for the Vector SMG is going to be 1,200 rounds per minute. And now in game here, it comes slightly over 1,100 rounds per minute, so again, still an extremely high rate of fire. Now the effective range for this weapon in real life is going to be 55 yards or 50 meters, 70 yards or 64 meters with a 16-inch barrel. The feed system, again, is going to be 9x19 Parabellum, 10, 17, 19, or 33 round detachable magazine. That could be interchanged with some of the Glock versions as well. And then here what we see is the 45 ACP 10 or 13 detachable box magazine, or also what's known as a 25 round magazine option with the Mag X 25 Plus, which is magazine extended, so you have 25 plus. So that can also formerly known as the Mag X 30. So which I believe in Modern Warfare 2 it took a 30 round magazine. So here we have a standard 25 versus the Gen 1 prototype in Modern Warfare 2, which was a base 30 round magazine. Now the sights are flip-up iron sights for this. As we see here, I believe it's a variation of the Magpul flip-up iron sights on this weapon. But again, here we've built the Vector CRB, which again is CRB standing for carbine, which is the civilian variation of the weapon with the standard 5.5-inch barrel. Like I said, it has that affixed 18-inch barrel here, giving it the Canadian version is what we've mainly built. And then the enhanced, because we have that M4 style stock adapter versus the standard folding stock, which we see on the Kriss Vector. So this is the Kriss Vector CRB Gen 2 enhanced variation. We also had a lot of things come with Season 2 today. Again, they released the roadmap today of all days. I was surprised they didn't release it beforehand. We did have a couple new milsim operators for the Allegiance and the Coalition, which is great to see. We also had the Galil Ace 32, which was introduced in the game. We can give a couple, or create a couple different conversions of that weapon to give us a few different variations, which I'm really excited to get into. We'll probably be covering one of those tomorrow. And then we have on the roadmap, we have one of the variations of the Barrett coming to game, which I'm assuming, we talked about that in our wish list, I'm assuming we'll be able to hopefully convert that to actually fire 50 cal to reproduce the M82A1 variation that we saw in the previous CODs for that Barrett 50 cal version of the rifle. So we'll have to stay tuned and see. That'll be released at halfway point. We also have some things coming, such as Kyle Garrett or Gaz. We have another operator, Rose, which is coming. I'm assuming she's going to be for the Allegiance side, since we'll have 2 Coalition operators this season. And then again, we have some different variations of Battle Royale or Warzone coming, and some more multiplayer maps as well. But stay tuned for that. Let me know down below what you guys think of the Kriss Vector. I know we did a poll on the channel the other week, and this was the most heavily requested weapon for the Weapon Conversion series right at the start of Season 4. So it's good that this finally came out. Really glad to get my hands on Season 4 and play with these 2 new weapons, more so in multiplayer, as well as see how they handle in Warzone. But again, let me know down below what you guys think of this weapon overall. Have you used this yet? Have you unlocked it yet in the Battle Pass? And what are your best favorite attachments to use? Maybe you've gotten in like a custom game like myself here and used it against bots and played around. I think there's a couple different really nice variations that I'm looking forward to using, as well as the Galil Ace. I think we'll be covering more tomorrow. There's a lot of different attachments for that I think is going to make that a very viable weapon, not only in multiplayer, but definitely in Warzone too for long-range engagements. Maybe not quite on par with what we see with the SIG 556 in-game, but I think it'll be pretty close. Again, that is the Grow, as it's called in-game. But again, this is the Kriss Vector Gen 2 CRB Enhanced. Let me know down below what you guys think. I'll leave you guys here with the rest of the gameplay, see how this thing handles. Let me know what your thoughts are of this weapon. And until next time, this is Buffner Gaming with the Kriss Vector CRB Gen 2 Enhanced. Until next time, Buffner Gaming, out.